Miriam and her brother Moses, a Bible story retold and illustrated by Jean Marzollo. Miriam lived long, long ago with her family in a country called Egypt, but they were not Egyptians. They were Hebrews, originally from the land of Canaan. Long before Miriam was born, the Hebrews had moved from Canaan. They moved because their food crops had died from the lack of rain. In Egypt, the crops were green and there was plenty to eat. For many, many years, the Egyptians and the Hebrews lived together in peace. But not in Miriam's time. In Miriam's time, a wicked king called Pharaoh forced the Hebrews into slavery. The Hebrew slaves built huge pyramids and temples. They were not paid for their work. All they received was a little food and bad housing. But they had no choice. If they didn't work, they were punished. Children were slaves too. Miriam's family worked at an outdoor brick factory. Miriam's job was to carry water from the river to the factory. Her mother mixed the water with clay, sand, and straw. Her father shaped the mixture into bricks, which her brother Aaron set in the sun to dry. The story, Miriam and her brother Moses. Pharaoh was scared. He liked having lots of slaves, but he feared having too many. What if the Hebrew slaves decided to fight his soldiers? And what if the Hebrews won? Pharaoh became so frightened that he gave his soldiers a truly terrible order. "Throw all Hebrew baby boys into the river so they won't grow up to fight me." Just after Pharaoh issued his dreadful command, Miriam's mother gave birth to a baby boy. The family hid him from Pharaoh's soldiers by keeping him inside their little mud hut. Miriam helped to keep her baby brother quiet by singing to him in her whisper voice. But every day baby grew, and the family knew that they couldn't keep him inside and quiet forever. How could they keep baby safe? Together, the family came up with a plan. They would make baby a boat and sail him down the river. To make the boat, Miriam and Aaron picked papyrus reeds from the river's edge. Next, Mother wove the reeds back and forth to make a basket. Mother waterproofed the basket with tar and pitch. At dawn the next morning, she lined it with a soft blanket and put baby inside. Everyone was afraid, so Miriam sang and danced to keep baby from catching their fears. Quietly, Miriam and her family went to the river. They prayed that baby would stay asleep and be hidden from the soldiers. Gently, Mother set the basket into the Nile. Then Miriam's family had to leave for work at the brick factory. If they were late, the soldiers would punish them. As planned, Miriam followed the basket down the river. She hoped that if the soldiers saw her, they would think that she was just a slave girl fetching water from the river. Miriam kept on singing. So far, so good, she thought. Quack, quack, quack. Ducks flew into the air. Would they wake baby? No, baby was still sleeping. But now a soldier was coming. Miriam's heart was pounding. She had to think. She sang out in her sweetest voice and even danced a little on the path. The soldier watched her closely and passed by. Miriam walked quietly now because she heard something. Just over a little hill, she came upon a rich woman and her maids going down to the river. Oh no! The rich woman was Pharaoh's daughter, the princess. What will she do? The princess saw baby floating in the river and sent a slave to fetch him. Baby began to cry. Wah! The slave lifted the basket out of the river. "Give him to me," said the princess. Pharaoh's daughter wasn't mean at all. Lifting baby gently into her arms, she rocked him and made cooing sounds like a dove. When baby stopped crying, the princess smiled. "Such a sweet little boy. I will raise him as my own and name him Moses, which means taken from the water." The maids were shocked. They knew that Pharaoh would not want his daughter to raise a Hebrew baby. But when Miriam saw how loving the princess was, she had an idea. Did she dare tell her idea to Pharaoh's daughter? Yes, she did. "Your Highness, would you like me to find a good, kind Hebrew woman who has plenty of milk for Moses?" The princess said yes, so Miriam ran all the way to the brick factory. Miriam brought her mother to the river. There Pharaoh's daughter handed Moses to her. "I will pay you to take care of my son. When he is 3, bring him to me so I can raise him as a true prince of Egypt." The princess had no idea that she was giving Moses back to his real mother and sister, but she saw that Moses was contented, and that made her happy. Happiest of all, though, were Miriam and her mother. 3 years passed quickly. Miriam's father and brother still worked at the brick factory, but Miriam helped her mother take care of Moses in the slave quarters of Pharaoh's palace. Miriam taught him games and songs that she hoped he would remember when he became a prince. From time to time, Pharaoh's daughter visited Moses, and she was pleased with the good care he was receiving. On his 3rd birthday, she placed a gold necklace around his neck. "The time has come, my son, for you to meet Pharaoh. He is the king of Egypt and your grandfather." Miriam and her mother followed the princess and Moses to Pharaoh's chambers and watched as they approached Pharaoh on his throne. "Father, this is Moses. He is your grandson. I have adopted him and will raise him as an Egyptian prince." The palace was quiet. Miriam, her mother, and all the slaves in the palace shut their eyes and prayed. Pharaoh stared at his soldiers, he stared at his daughter, and he stared at Moses. Finally, he spoke. "He's not my grandson. He's a Hebrew boy. Throw him into the Nile." "No," said the princess. "No one will harm him. I love him. He is my son, and I am your daughter." The Pharaoh said, "Soldiers, keep the boy safe. He is, after all, my grandson and an Egyptian prince." "And what a wonderful prince he will be," said the princess. Miriam and her mother joined the rest of the family at the brick factory. Years passed. Sometimes, as she worked, Miriam would see Moses ride by on a royal chariot driven by one of Pharaoh's soldiers. The soldiers were always nice to him, and Moses seemed very happy. In time, both Miriam and Moses grew up. The prince drove the chariot alone now. Miriam was sad to think that her brother no longer remembered her. Then one hot day, as Miriam was carrying water, she heard chariot wheels and a strong voice singing a familiar song. The voice came closer and closer. Miriam turned and saw Prince Moses. He was singing to her. His song told her that Moses did remember her and all the songs that she had taught him. The look in his eyes told her more. It told her that he wanted to help his family. Suddenly Miriam had a vision. She saw, not with her eyes, but with her heart and mind and soul, that one day her powerful brother would free the Hebrew slaves and lead them out of Egypt. Miriam clapped her hands and sang a new song, one she had never sung before. Lead, mighty prince. The end.